Hey you guys, it's me. I'm still sitting on the living room floor. I thought I would come and do a quick, I don't know if it'll be quick, but a grief diary update, if you like. I feel like I've not done one for a while, and there's some other observations I have. So hopefully this is still helpful to people, because we're all either going through or will go through or have gone through grief of some kind. For those of you that don't know, I lost my dad in May last year during lockdown, and he died of, we believe, a cardiac arrest. There's been a change that I can't remember if I told you guys about, in that I had to clear out Dad's flat because Eve, his wife, has now moved back down to Derby to be with her family. And so that was a traumatic experience. When I say I had to clear out his flat, I had already cleared most of the things out, but I had to go back there and look around and see, is there anything that I want to take, and know that the things that I didn't want that were just... would just need to be thrown away. And it was really hard. And the funny thing was, I was thinking at the time, he's got nowhere to live. I know that's a really odd thought, but I still think it now. I'm just like, it's almost like, I was laughing about it with Kevin, saying, but like, what if he comes back? He's got nowhere to live. He's got nowhere to live. He's got no clothes. He'll have to live with us. And I think that's just, although we were joking about it, I think it's your brain's way of coping with the fact that you can't really accept that he's gone. And that's one of the interesting things I've found, because it's now been 10 months. I can't believe it's nearly a year that he's been gone. I really cannot believe that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And I was like, because it hasn't sunk in. It's still not sunk in. I still, in the shops, will see crossword books, and even one day went to reach for one thinking I'll get one of those for Dad. So I'm like, how can that be? And I thought, you know what, it's not really that unusual, because he's been in my life for 48 years. It's not just going to disappear in a year that I, get used to the fact that he's not. 48 years versus a year, it's not going to suddenly, even though he's not here, it's not going to suddenly sink in that he's not here. And the other thing I was thinking was, although I moved him up to Edinburgh to be nearer to me after he had his heart attack and whatnot, he'd been up here for about 15 years, say, something like that. There was also 10 years that I lived up here in Scotland myself, and I lived abroad. So there was long periods of time that I would go without seeing my dad. I mean, I would always speak to him. That was the difference. I would always speak to him once a week. Even when I lived in Barcelona, I used to phone him from the payphone. I'd always go down to the payphone and phone him every week. And when I was up here, I used to visit him. I probably visited him every 4 or 5 months. So like I said, there was periods of time where I didn't see him. So I think that's another reason that it's difficult to accept. You just kind of, part of your mind is thinking, he's on holiday, I must see him soon, that kind of thing. But it's still a bit of a shock to me that, like I said, that just 10 months have gone by and I'm still like, is he really not here? Like, it doesn't sound right saying that. Can I really not see him, So in a way, it kind of gets worse, because there's more and more time has passed, and it's like, well, now I'm really missing you, now I really want to see you, and now I really have to get on board with the fact that I can't ever, The feathers and the robins still appear. I know I told you about the feathers. I don't know if I told you about the robins, because I'm not sure that what I think about it. But apparently it's a known thing that robins appear to people that are grieving. But I have had more of an interest in birds the last little while, whereas I never used to. And so I don't know if it's just a coincidence that I'm suddenly seeing robins. But literally every dog walk we go on, there's a little robin. Suddenly I'll be talking to Kevin, I'm like, there's a robin, like sitting on a branch right where we are, And here in the house, it happened this morning. I shouted to Kevin, I was like, it's a robin sitting looking at me, like literally just hopping along, looking in here, And that's happened quite a lot. And like I said, the feathers continue to happen as well. And you know what, even though I don't fully 100% believe it, I find comfort in it, which I never ever thought I would, but I do. I actually had the opportunity to use a psychic. I found a psychic that's very highly recommended, but she's through Instagram, and that put me off, because I thought, it doesn't matter what she tells me now. If I have this telephone reading with her, whatever she says, I'm going to think, well, she could have got that from Instagram, because I've put plenty about my dad, and all the important things I think are there. I can't think of much she could come up with that would mean something that isn't already there, you know. But two kind of big things, I suppose, that have happened. One is that there are, on a daily basis, I'm not crying, and he's not like in my thoughts as much. Don't get me wrong, I think about him every day, but it's not all invasive, you know. Like, I felt like after he died, I was worried that I was ever going to be able to think about anything else. You know, every time I lay down, all that I could think about was Dad. It was like thinking about every experience I'd ever had with Dad. Did I do this? You know, going through the whole guilt thing. Did I do enough? Did I say enough? What about that conversation? What about that argument? What about that situation? What about when he didn't like this boyfriend? You know, literally going through every single thing. And I found it really overwhelming that I could never get away from it. And it was particularly when I was relaxing, you know, it was particularly if I went to lay down at night, first thing in the morning, that's all I would think about. And I was like, am I ever going to be able to get to a point where I can think about something else, you know? And obviously that has happened very gradually. But the tears, I think I have been pushing down now. They obviously, they don't come as often, but they do come. Like, I sorted out my cupboard the other day and I came across his shirt. I've still got his shirt. It still smells of him. That's the one I was sitting on the breakwater sobbing into, you know. I've still got that. That made me tearful. So just like, right, put that away and, you know, get on with things. But there are these unexpected moments. And one of them was when I was driving to the chiropractor, which is funny because I've just put that video up. Or I've just filmed that video. Maybe this one will go up first. And I was in my new car. I've got a new car, not new, but, you know, bought another car, just another Vauxhall Corsa, because my old one was just about to give up the ghost. And I have discovered that you can play music through your phone, or I can play music through my phone in this car. And I was like, this is brilliant. So I brought up my music and it started playing a Lionel Richie song called Stuck on You. And I suddenly felt like I was going to cry my eyes out. And at this point I was pulling up at the chiropractor and parked outside, and I was way early, you know. And I was like, oh God, I need to change that to another song because I don't know why that's going to make me cry about Dad. I mean, the chiropractor is actually quite near where Dad's flat was, but I wasn't particularly thinking about that. So I put on I moved it to the next song, and it was another sad song, and it still made me want to cry. So I had to like switch it off. And I was like, unless I can find some dance music, clearly I can't listen to music that is any kind of way sad. And there was no relevance to Dad at all. That was the thing that puzzled me. There are songs that would remind me of Dad that he loved. The Stevie Wonder songs he loved, and, you know, but that one was not one I'd ever even heard him talk about, or, you know, either of the two songs were ones that had any relevance in words or anything. It was just the fact that there was sad music was going to make me cry about Dad. And I found that really surprising. I didn't know that level of emotion was just sitting there under the surface, ready to erupt like that. I thought it would take something stronger, like an actual, like somebody saying something about Silvergirl, or seeing a photo or a memory of him specifically, not something so generic. I was just like, so there's obviously still a lot going on there that I maybe am pushing down. Now, don't get me wrong, if I hadn't have been going to the chiropractor, if I'd have just been going shopping or something, I would probably have just cried my eyes out, because better out than in. I always think that, you know, that it's better to cry. But when I've been filming, I've stopped myself because it's like, I'm filming. I'm not going to sit on camera and cry. And also, if I've got loads of things to do, or like then I was going into the chiropractor, I could not go into the chiropractor crying my eyes out. I think it might have even been my initial appointment, you know. So that was an unexpected moment. And that kind of threw me. And the other thing that I would say is big is I've realised that it has such, when somebody dies, things change in ways that you don't even think about. And I found this out, and this was a moment that made me tearful, but it made sense why it did. In my kitchen, I've got a big dining table, and I've got 4 leather chairs, 3 brown and 3 cream. And so they're like brown cream, you know, around the table. But we only have it set with 4 chairs, and we have 2 chairs near the back door, just sitting together kind of oddly. But it's fine because it's only us that sees them. And then if we have people around to dinner, then we would set the table. But it's just that when the 2 chairs at the end get in the way most of the time if they're set. One is too near the kitchen and one is too near the back door. So we sort of move them to the side. The when we use them is when we would have Kev's parents and my dad and Eve over for Christmas. So that would make 6 of us. And I suddenly said to Kev, we don't need all of these chairs anymore. Because we do know enough people that we could potentially have 6 people over for dinner, but it's not my favourite thing to do. I was actually saying that because we were going to have this dinner party once, and then I can't remember what happened, but people got ill or something, or somebody's child got ill, and it didn't happen. And I was actually glad, and I said to Kev, I'd rather have that couple over and then that couple over, because it's just, I don't like, that makes me really anxious. And I think I could just about cope with 2 people coming over, but I wouldn't really want 4 people coming over in our friend group. And so out with that, there'll never be 6 people coming to certainly Christmas dinner. There'll never be more than 4 people. There'll be Kev's mum and dad and myself and Kev, and that's it. There's no more family that I have here. Nobody in my family would be coming up here for various reasons, you know. And if they were, Kev's parents probably wouldn't be coming over. It's just, yeah. So I was like, we actually don't need a dining table that big, and we could get rid of those 2 chairs. As it happens, Kev doesn't want to, because he's like, I said, and if we ever do have 6 people over, we could just, you know, buy some cheap fold down chairs or something. It's like, no, we're keeping those 2 chairs just in case, you know, which is fair enough. And actually I was quite pleased at that, because it was quite a significant thing to do, you know, to get rid of it. And the only reason we're talking about getting rid of 2 is because I'd noticed on 2 of them separately had little cuts in the leather, and we've had them, you know, 15 years or so. So they're not new chairs, but yeah, 2 of them have got little cuts on them, and I was like, we could get rid of those 2 chairs, but he doesn't want to. He wants to keep them. I guess we might, if we move, we might buy a different dining table and chairs. So yeah, that was my observation. I guess you could say that's it now. Christmas dinner will only ever be the 4 of us, and it's only going to get less, really, isn't it? Because nobody's getting any younger. And so these things, yeah, they really do change your life in ways that you don't even think of at the time, you know. Well, I think this might have been the first video I managed to get through without crying. Oh, one other thing, let me say one positive thing, actually, because there isn't much positive about grief, let's be honest. There's not a lot. Although my friend Kristen had said in a comment that she found that grief had made her kinder as a person. I don't think it's necessarily made me kinder. I feel like I've always been kind, but I feel like it's made me more emotional. Definitely think it's made me more emotional. But the positive thing I was going to say is Kev and I we had one evening in particular where we sat and remembered Dad, and it was spontaneous. We just started talking about him. We were talking about how much of a rascal he was, and we were like, that's the perfect word for my dad, is rascal. I think it was because I found his Facebook page keeps coming up, and his Facebook, I thought, let me go and have a look at his Facebook page and see what photos he's got on there. You know, maybe there's some photos I haven't seen. And what there was on there was his, you know, you put your likes and dislikes. His likes, he had put women. I was just like, that's Dad all over. He loved women. He had so many female friends. And in fact, I looked at it, and I don't know why, but he has got about 15 women from Nairobi on his Facebook page that are friends. Now, I don't know whether that's because they're all related to, he has two female friends that separately he knows that are from Nairobi. And I don't know whether it's, you know, friends of friends kind of thing, but all females. And there's a lot of females on there that I have no idea who they were, you know. So I thought that was kind of funny. And so Kev and I were talking about how many times my dad was engaged, how quickly he jumped into relationships, and, you know, the situations that have happened with him, and just how much of a rascal he was. And a rascal is a really good word for him, you know. So yeah, I shall end on that positive note. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you are doing okay if you are grieving. And like I said, hopefully this is helpful. Thanks so much for watching. I'll speak to you again soon.